What's going on, everybody? Jay the Great here, and welcome back to another podcast here today. I hope you all doing well. Hope y'all's holiday season has commenced nicely. There's plenty to discuss. The anime world is booming. Dragon Ball Daima, Bleach, etc. So it's a good time to be an anime fan for sure. And of course, 2024 is almost coming to a conclusion as well. Yeah, it's a good time. Certainly a good time to discuss things, and yeah. Hope y'all are doing well. Uh, Give me 1 second, folks. I put my soundboard up. If you haven't already, as always, hit that like button, folks. That's greatly appreciated. Gets up in the algorithm. Um, you know, Gets more eyeballs, hopefully, on the stream, and results in better streams in the future as well. Yeah. What's going on, Terion? Hope you're doing well, brother. Thanks for coming in. Batman should be joining us shortly. I believe Shinobi should be able to make it as well. Apology for the hiatus, folks. I know it's been about a week and a half since we have streamed, but the show must go on. The show must go on, and here we are. What's going on, Marcus? Thanks for coming in, brother. But yeah, I've been keeping up with Dragon Ball Dama. Certainly nostalgic. Certainly nostalgic. I know there's some new data that we've learned as well, specifically on about how universes are created via the Majins. Very interesting stuff. Power scaling wise, it's been quite neat to watch as well. What's going on, Christopher? Doing well, Terry. I appreciate that, brother. So essentially, from my understanding, um, Goku, even as a child, is certainly very powerful, at least in relation to individuals within the demon realm, within the three worlds of the demon realm, respectively. Um, Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen it. He acquired one of the Dragon Balls, right, as we all know. He had to defeat one of the Tanagamis, I believe that's how they are pronounced, the sort of beings that protect the Dragon Balls within the demon realm, right? He's defeated one of them. Everybody is shocked by this, including, the Demon King himself, right? Implying that he can't do that himself. Right, so this implies that Goku is above perhaps everyone in the demon world, including, again, the Demon King himself, right? And a new Majin was created, right? However, when tested by Goku's enemies, that Majin Ku, right, as Tyrion already said, was unable to defeat one of the Tanagamis, unfortunately, for them. So Goku's still above anyone that they have to offer as a threat to him. But yeah, it's pretty nostalgic to see him, as a child. But difference is he's obviously he's much more powerful than he ever was as a child, of course, in Dragon Ball, right? So. The guy number 3, yeah. Also, as far as content, most of you guys already know what the next video that will be coming out in a few days. Sasori versus Datara. Let's just say, I'm not going to spoil my conclusion, obviously. I'll just say there's an argument in that video that I don't think anyone's heard yet, at least on a big scale, for who wins and why they win in this fight. So stay tuned for that. I have other content as well. Also, Glorio looks like a double agent. Glorio is an interesting character, yeah. Yeah, certainly a very interesting character. I think he's pretty cool, as far as, personality-wise and even aesthetically. But we'll see what happens with Glorio, right? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. Tanagami number 3. Yeah, also power scaling wise, I'd note that Goku's certainly weaker as a child, right, than he is as an adult. Right, when he first became a child, he had to relearn how to engage in combat, right? Being in a smaller body, the dynamics are different. He didn't have the best balance, right, because he wasn't used to the body size of a child, right, because he's been an adult for many, many years. So there's that. That certainly nerfed him. When he was sparring Glorio as well, a couple episodes previous, he was actually unsure whether or not he could even go Super Saiyan, right? He said, let's see if this works, implying that he's certainly, perhaps not certainly, but more than likely unable to go to the levels that he was when he was an adult, right? Such as Ultra, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, etc. So there is that as well. So it does seem that he is weaker now. Um, it's implied that him turning into a child as well by the Demon King is supposed to have made him weaker, such as when they find out um, that when they find out that he defeated a Tanagami, the Demon King shocked, right? He's like, "How? I made him a child, right? He should be too weak to do that." Basically, that's what he's saying, implying that perhaps the Z Fighters as children are certainly weaker than they were as adults. Goku's kind of cautious about the Sea Beasts. Yeah, the Sea Beasts. That's true. But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. Be Dragon Ball, Boruto, Naruto. Also, for you guys that don't know, me and Batman will be debating probably in about a week and a half. We're going to be debating Prime Minato Alive Minato versus Prime Itachi. We're going to be debating that soon as well. So look forward to that. That should be an interesting debate. Finally going to do it. We've been wanting to debate each other for you folks for quite some time, but finally going to make it happen. Me and Sean debated a long time ago, but now me and Batman have to do it for sure for you folks. Probably will be live streamed, I believe. The interactions with the driver, Bulma, and Vegeta are so savage. Yeah, I agree. He did go Super Saiyan 2 in that fight. I don't know if he can go Super Saiyan 3. Yeah, it's implied that he wasn't even sure about it, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. As of now, we can assume that if Goku is an adult, the Demon Realm would be his oyster. I mean, it kind of is already, right? But if he was an adult, I mean, he'd have no threats to him whatsoever. We could say that pretty safely, especially with God Key under his control, right? When he's an adult, as we all know. So basically, even as a child, Goku's him. I mean, it's very obvious. He's him. He's that guy. You know. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Feel free. Any questions at all? Certainly looking forward to the new chapter of Boruto as well. Um, should be coming out in about 5, 6 days, I believe. So that should be interesting as well to see what takes place in the next chapter, of course. Bleach season looking great right now. I need to catch up to Bleach actually. I've been prioritizing Dragon Ball Dama, but I need to catch up to Bleach for sure. Get back on that ASAP. Yeah, folks, any questions at all? Can be IRL. We like to stir the melting pot here. It can be, of course, anime. That's our main forte. Sports as well. With the year coming to an end, we've had a lot of good combat sports events. John Jones, doing his thing. Um, great year for the UFC. Great year a good year for boxing. I don't know when's the last time boxing's had a great year, but it's been a good year, I suppose. So yeah, any questions at all, folks? Let me check the status on Batman. I think he said he's going to join soon. But yeah, folks, just been working on content for you folks. Got a lot of ideas. Obviously, I'm prioritizing currently this is Story versus Datara. I want that to come out first. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of content there. Just trying to bring you guys different, types of content here. Daima is a year after the defeat of Kid Buu since Trunks is returning 9 and he was A in the Buu saga. Yeah, it makes sense logically, yeah, the timeline, yeah. Dennis Schroeder to Warriors is happening. Interesting. Yeah, the NBA, as far as buzz, hasn't had the most this year, marketing wise, I've noticed. I've been keeping up with it. I'm a sports fan in general. By far the most surprising of years is the Cleveland's year. The number one in the East and the Central, right? Very interesting that they're doing as well as they are. Um, Perhaps we're seeing the beginning of a dynasty. Perhaps we'll have to wait and see. But very interesting, very very interesting to see that. They have the most wins in the East as well, which is crazy. Um, without LeBron for the last few years have been pretty bad. So the West I'd say is very competitive this year. It's an interesting year, I must say. So probably as a teen, he would accomplish the same thing that he's doing now. Though I see him having Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 easier. I agree. Yeah, it's closer to his original size, right, as an adult. Seems to be the culprit for his nerfing, right? Everyone's complaining about the NBA ratings dropping hard. Yeah, so I was discussing this in like forums, right, as to why that possibly is. And essentially it's access, right? Obviously cable, and that's a dying sort of acquirement these days because of streaming, right? Then you have all these other paywall type of streaming services to access NBA games. That's also decentivizes viewers to go out and pay for these services to watch NBA games. I believe that is another reason as to why right ratings have dropped. While conversely, the NFL, for example, they are providing their games to other free and or very affordable services. There's several streams. There's actually on Netflix, as a matter of fact. I was scrolling there myself, and they're going to be showing a game, on Christmas, right on Netflix, right? And Netflix isn't the most expensive, right? Or Peacock, for example, they show a lot of games on there, specifically on Sundays. So it all comes down to marketing. It all comes down to accessibility, and the NBA just doesn't have the best accessibility as of now. And I believe that's a big reason as to why ratings have dropped, unfortunately, for them. What's going on, Mr. Pillow? Appreciate you coming in, bro. Crazy thing is the Cavs went with the same roster in as last season. Yeah, perhaps the chemistry, perhaps players individually have improved as well. Um, Chemistry is a big thing for sure in the NBA for teams. Magic happens when there's chemistry, and of course, as individual players continue to improve as well. Yeah, folks, any questions at all? Any questions at all? By the way, shout out to Six. I see him on Twitter on his UFC fan, on his UFC fan arc. Pretty cool. Giving some W takes on Twitter, on X specifically, I should say. Connor he's a washed up, problematic person now. It's a W take. I saw him say that. John Jones is the goat. W take. Shout out to Six, man. Shout out to Six. Speaking of combat, another rumor, perhaps, and I'm sure we're all hoping this, is that Canelo seems more willing to face Jake Paul because of Mike Tyson's defeat, right? He's a fan of Mike. He wants to sort of essentially avenge his loss, right? His quote unquote loss. I don't think anyone cares that 60-year-old Mike Tyson lost a fight. No one's going to count that ever against him, and they shouldn't. So if Canelo were to fight Jake Paul, that would be sending a lamb to the slaughter. Jake Paul has no chance against Canelo. The only advantage he has is the size advantage. He's naturally bigger physically than Canelo. That's all. Canelo is currently one of the top fighters in the entire world of this, of the sport of boxing. So, I'm sure we're all hoping that he does us the favor of defeating Jake Paul thoroughly. So, and John Jones, right, versus Tom Aspinall specifically, seems to be in the process of negotiations. So we'll have to see. I think we're all hoping that happens. That's the biggest threat to John currently, right? Tom Aspinall is very obvious. Maybe he needs to reduce the amount of regular season games though, and do more weight training again. Too many injuries nowadays. The injuries, yeah, it's an interesting occurrence. It probably should be less frequent than it is. I do agree. That does come down to individual training and things like that. Then again, not everyone has LeBron James resources, right? Playing 20 plus years and only have like an injury or two. He does spend apparently like over $1 million a year on his body, which is very intelligent. It's probably a big reason as to why he's been in the league so long and playing at a level this high for so long. Um, yeah, but yeah, I agree. The less injuries, the better, of course. So, but yeah, folks. Again, any questions at all? Anime, sports, even politics. Um, any questions at all? Combat sports, conspiracies, whatever you guys want to ask, feel free. All of them respect TJ, but GSP is my personal go, and I agree that Canelo would beat Jake Paul alive. I won't respect Bones until he fights Aspinall. GSP is a fair take. It's a fair pick for the greatest of all time. I don't, shun someone for picking GSP. A very clean record in and out of the octagon. Very clean. Certainly the best welterweight of all time. I think the guy that got closest was Usman, but he didn't do quite enough to surpass GSP. GSP had almost 10 defenses. I believe he had 9 title defenses. He's had his close fights, but I believe every fighter, even John, has had his close fights. Alexander Gustafsson, Reyes. So all the greats have had close fights. The only person perhaps that wouldn't, and he's not the go in my eyes, would be Khabib. He didn't dominate long enough to consider him above even GSP. I think GSP is above Khabib as well. John Jones, GSP, Fedor, Demetrius Johnson. I think he's very misrepresented and underrepresented as well. He's up there as well. Those guys were dominant for a long time. Very, very well-rounded fighters, etc. So I don't blame you for picking GSP. Um, but yeah, many, many people want to see Jones fight Aspinall, right? And the reason why I don't blame him for his current mindset, right, which as most recently was, hey, I don't need to fight Aspinall, right? That's his mindset. I don't need to. I've defended my title over 15 times successfully, more than any other fighter in the sport ever, right? And you can't really disagree with that, you know. He certainly, I believe, earned his right to choose. And he's even okay with vacating the title. It's not like, he's going to try to hold on to it and do what he wants. Then I disagree. But he's like, hey, I'll vacate it. It doesn't matter to me. I've done what I've had to do in this sport. But yeah, I think we all want to see him fight Aspinall because he is the biggest threat, at least in the heavyweight division, right? So LeBron wants to play as many minutes as possible, which is risky. Plus, the Lakers look catastrophic at times. Yeah, yeah, I agree. The Lakers they've had an interesting year, I guess, right? They're almost a 500 team. Um, sort of middle of the pack team this year. Yeah, it's very interesting. One thing I'll say about that he scales differently during certain points, even though he surpassed Chia like Third War. When he joined the Akatsuki, I thought go P1, Part 1 self and Part 2. Interesting theory. But yeah, that video will be out soon though. There's an argument in that video that I don't think anyone's heard before. So I have a couple videos in mind. One that I don't think anyone's expecting, besides this one. All that should be out in the next couple weeks. See, Batman sent the message. Let me respond real quick. Just rewatch the Boo Saga, W Vegeta moments, Final Atonement, Year Number One, amazing character growth. That was a very good arc for Vegeta as a character. Very good arc. It showed his humanity, you know. It showed his humanity. It's weird, right? Because we have the Majin Vegeta, right, where he's sort of embracing his ferocity. Right? He even explains it to Goku. Right? He's like, I miss the way I used to be. Right? He almost as if he sort of credits that nature to his growth. But then later on, we see him have this final moment of sacrifice, right, against Majin Buu, right? It's a very good moment for his character. It shows the complexity of Vegeta, and there's a reason why I personally may believe that he's above Goku. As far as my personal bias, as far as who's better of a character, Vegeta is a very, very good character, and that saga really displayed that very well. Or if I had the Infinity Stones, I'd snap my fingers to make Prime Fedor fight Prime Kane. I think everyone would have loved to see that. I agree with that one. That's an awesome one. Another one with some fantasy fights. Kane versus Stipe in their primes would have been a beautiful display of violence. Prime Conor McGregor, perhaps versus Prime Ilya Topuria or Prime Volkanovski would have been a beautiful fight as well. Um, Perhaps Prime Usman versus Prime GSP. Would have loved to see that. Or even Khabib versus GSP in their primes. They're different weight classes, but Khabib's a big boy. He could have gone up easily, very, very easily. In fact, he had very, very tough times cutting down 155. You know, so Prime GSP versus Prime Khabib would have been very interesting. Um, Perhaps, honestly, yeah. I mean, Pantoja wanted this fight, but Prime Pantoja versus Prime Demetrius Johnson, very interesting at a flyweight as well. Um, Prime Sean O'Malley versus Prime Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz, one of my favorite fighters of all time. In my opinion, the greatest bantamweight ever. Very, very interesting fight right there. There's a lot of fights out there. Obviously, Prime Silva versus Prime Adesanya would have been a hell of a fight. Um, Prime Jones, perhaps. I mean, he's by far the best at his weight class, right? Light heavyweight. Perhaps Prime Jones versus someone like Prime Chuck Liddell. Would have been interesting. I think Jones still would have won, but the spectacle would have been very, very interesting. And even in boxing, there's plenty. I can list so many, but Prime Hagler versus Prime Golovkin, Triple G. Prime Canelo versus Hagler. Roberto Duran versus um, Mayweather. Mayweather versus Sugar Ray Leonard. Mayweather versus uh, Thomas Hitman Hearns. There's so many fights. So many fights I would like to see as well. Being a fan of the sport. But yeah, folks, any questions, feel free. Mike Tyson versus Ali is another one. I think everyone would have loved to see that. As far as combat, speaking of combat, an individual that I believe should be respected, but isn't as proficient as people think as far as combat. Again, he's a pioneer of combat in general, is Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee doesn't have any feats implying world class, right? In fact, there's a video I believe of him struggling with an amateur fighter. Bruce Lee is a legend of the sport. He's a very philosophical and intelligent mind. Um, he introduced the idea of what combat should be, right? Combat should be this free flowing act that shouldn't be limited to any single martial art, right? Because back in the day, right, decades ago, combat was a very tribal thing, right? We had what I would call combat factions, the karate guys, the taekwondo guys, the boxing guys, and they never wanted to intertwine. They never wanted their disciplines to intertwine. It was a very tribal thing. But Bruce Lee introduced the idea of sort of mixing these things together, right? Hence mixed martial arts, right? And mixing all these martial arts to make yourself the best weapon possible, right? The best weapon of mass destruction per se. And Lee introduced that idea. His philosophy was to be like water, right? Don't limit yourself. Don't be rigid, right? Be malleable. And in that way, he is extremely influential. He introduced that idea, so. But yeah, Bruce Lee's a very interesting character. Very interesting. But as you guys know, combat has been a thing that I've always been very, very appealed to for a long time. So similar to anime, you know. But yeah, any questions at all, folks? Feel free. Definitely, man. He slept on heavily by a lot of people. I agree. I agree. Yeah. And most importantly, free Joe Kick or give him a team. Man, he's playing like an alien right now. Joe Kick is a hell of a talent, man. He's a hell of a talent, and yeah, some players, I think, some very, very talented players get stuck on some pretty bad teams sometimes, and Joe Kick is a hell of a talent. Has multiple MVPs, if I'm not mistaken. You know, led his team to, I believe, to the finals. He's a very, very good player. Kind of like Larry Bird, but a bigger, like a physically bigger version of Larry Bird. He can shoot. He has size. Very, very talented. But yeah, folks, feel free to even ask about recent current events. I know there's this one thing trending about this one chick that did, 100 guys in a day or something. It's a hell of an L right there. LOF dot. There's a lot of things happening, So anything like that, feel free as well. Any current events, anything like that as well, feel free. Connor dealing with allegations. Jay-Z perhaps being another Diddy 2.0. There's all kinds of things. If Jokic somehow wins one or two rings more, he will be in a top 15 all-time discussion. Honestly, yeah, there's a fair conversation. I mean, the numbers, the consistency, the dominance. If he has that already, along with more rings, yeah, he's going to start to creep up that all-time list. You know, Same thing with Curry, right? When he started to win more and more, he started to climb up that list. The dominant shooting, right? Plus the accolades. I mean, it's undeniable. So he'll start approaching that rare air the more that he wins. So, but yeah, folks, it should be nice to shake off the debate rust, debating Batman. Again, a live Minato versus Prime Itachi, interesting topic. I've debated it publicly before. But yeah, this might be a hot take, but I'm starting to like Sukuna a little more than Madara. I liked his character arc continuing to be more than Madara, especially after his final combo with Mahito. Sukuna is a very good villain. Um, he has a very apparent philosophy and mentality, right? Improve and dominate by all costs, right? Very Madara-esque, but yeah, Sukuna is a very good character. Certainly one of the best in JJK, that's for sure. Certainly. Curry should already be top 10, honestly. Honestly, I wouldn't blame someone for putting him in the top 10. 4 rings, the greatest shooter to ever live by far. Yeah, honestly, he's led his team multiple times. Yeah, I do believe he's top 10. Or there's a very good argument at the very least for it. Um, by far the greatest shooter of all time. That's not even debatable. His ability to make shots is second to none. It's fucking ridiculous, actually. But yeah, Sukuna was a very interesting character. While reading, the manga, I really got an understanding of the kind of person, the kind of entity Sukuna is. Constant improvement, constant discipline to become the best. Um, he certainly was a converse of Gojo. Gojo was so talented. He didn't have that drive. He didn't have that ambition to continuously and constantly improve upon his skill set. Sukuna does, right? Call it pride, call it whatever, but he has that ambition, right? And it's interesting to see the converse with him and Gojo, right? The very antithetical philosophies that these two have. Very, very interesting. Haters always bring up that he only has one Finals MVP, which is super brain rot. Yeah, it's not the best argument to try to downplay what Curry has accomplished. Certainly not. Uh, but yeah, Yuji, I think he took a little from both. Gojo, right? Gojo has the care for others. Sukuna doesn't have that. While conversely, Gojo doesn't have the ambition Sukuna has, and Yuji kind of took a little bit from both, ironically enough, right? So these are themes that I believe are not really acknowledged by many, right? But well done by Gege. So yeah, folks, any questions at all? Another show, I think I said this in the last stream, another show that was pretty great, and I think I'm going to make some content on it, is Cobra Kai as well. Cobra Kai, very good show. Very good show. Plenty of scaling to do there, the karate tournaments and the feats that these characters have. Shout out to Ty Learned. I like his Cobra Kai content a lot. Watching his videos kind of gave me some of my own ideas to do, rankings and things like that. So feel free to ask about that as well. Been sort of brainstorming some ideas there as well. So But yeah, folks, any questions at all, feel free. Anything at all. Good time to be an anime fan, that's for sure. Yeah. But a pretty good year for anime, I'd say. 2024. I'll attempt to do an end of the year stream as well. Get that up for you folks. We've done that in the last couple of years, I believe. We'll try to continue the tradition. Bada was a broken man trying to fix a broken world, no matter the cost. Akuna appeared to just be an evil for the sake of evil villain, but according to him, to his final convo with Mahito. Um, yeah, so Sukuna certainly didn't have the goal of saving the world. It certainly didn't have. It was certainly more selfish in comparison. Sukuna, all he cared about was being the superior being, right? Being the king of curses, the king of the, essentially the dominant combatant wherever he steps foot. Um, that's why Gojo was so interesting to him, right? Gojo was this prodigal figure that was just so admired by others, and Sukuna wanted to kill that. He wanted to be the center of attention, right? He wanted to be the superior being, right? And he proved that. He's certainly different than Madara in that way. They have similarities, but they certainly have differences as well. He was just a boy who created a world that scorned him for being born. You got to watch any One Piece? Actually, I haven't. The IRL, YouTube videos, scripting. I haven't really got to watch too much, but hopefully now the holidays coming, I may have some more free time. Perhaps try to get that done as well. Um, you know, putting the hours on YouTube, putting the hours in with my IRL career as well. Um, I do try to find time though. The Dragon Ball Dama specifically as of late. One Piece I gotta get back on it. Bleach I want to catch up. I'm not too far behind. But yeah, Sukuna and Madara are certainly interesting to compare. Certainly interesting to compare for sure. They have similar complexes, right? They both had perhaps a superiority complex for sure. Perhaps a god complex. Um, but Madara has a hero complex, which Sukuna does not, right? He doesn't care about saving others. Almost as if he lacks sympathy, right? Perhaps he's closer to a sociopath than Madara is. Are you up to date with Dama? Pretty much, yeah. With Dama, I am. The last thing I saw in Bleach, I believe, was Sentry going down to Aizen's prison per se and kind of discussing with him that he sort of needs his help, right? I believe that was the last thing I remember. And Aizen's aura sort of like killed somebody down there. Just his aura, his literal spiritual pressure itself, like disintegrated somebody. It was insane. Aizen's him. It's very obvious. He's him. Yeah, with Dom, I'm up to date though. Yeah, very nostalgic watching Dama. Just seeing Goku as a kid brings back a lot of memories. Thoughts on Remus? Is he on par with Zeno? It's too soon to tell. I'd say I would need to see a little more. He's certainly beyond the vast majority. If he's able to create universes, apparently, from my understanding, he's certainly beyond the vast majority of entities within all within all universes. Um, he's at least, God level. I think that's very obvious. At the very bare minimum, angel level, perhaps beyond. Very interesting to get this revelation of what's happening. Right, with we're actually learning some new things with Dragon Ball Dama. It's not simply just like it's canon, but it's not simply just a pass me by type of narrative. We're learning some new things that actually matter in the grand scheme of Dragon Ball. Right, so it's very interesting. Bleach killing is getting discussed again. That's really crazy. I'm not surprised, man. I'm already shocked at how strong these people are already. Ewok, Aizen, I'm sure Ichigo as time goes on, Squad Zero. I mean, the ridiculous amount of powers, multiversal levels of power. Um, insane, insane. Being on X, it's very obvious that anime fandom tribalism is still alive and well. You know, the Bleach fans, the Boruto fans, the One Piece fans. Um, it's a tribe thing for sure. Very bizarre to me because I love all these animes. I don't know why they can't coexist, but then again, that's like asking, why can't tribes coexist? It's just a tribal thing, right? They have their loyalties. Their loyalties lie with their tribes, right? So these fandoms, their loyalty lies with the respective anime that they admire, and they're not willing to share that admiration with others, with other animes or other fandoms, right? It's very bizarre. Tribalism is as old as human history, right? So I wish Yuji would have unlocked his own curse technique and completely humiliated Sukuna. Instead, he was kind of cucked in his own series. Yeah, the ending is certainly one of the most criticized aspects of JJK. I think even the biggest of fans, including myself, weren't that happy with the ending. It was a weird, just way to end things with Sukuna. It was very, very bizarre. Um, very bizarre. Certainly not happy with how it ended. Could have been much better. It seemed for a second that perhaps Yuji would have gotten his moment, right? Where he was the knight in shining armor, but it just didn't happen. Just didn't happen. It was a very bizarre ending. Most people aren't happy with it, right? It was kind of just like okay, let's just end it this way type of ending. I don't know. I don't know. Gojo was the main act for so long, right? Then he dies, and then we are expecting Yuji to become the guy. He has his moments, right? But never got the final send off, I believe we all were waiting for, or that we all believed he deserved, right? So, unfortunate. Yeah, people can enjoy their anime and it's kind of they really need to look for the right content like you guys. Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's very bizarre, the tribalism. It exists in all aspects of modern, I mean, of ancient and modern civilization, right? From sports to anime to countries themselves to government to whatever, right? Tribalism and loyalties and division. This has always existed. Right? It's a bizarre sort of intangible thing that's existed since the beginning of human history. Very bizarre. Bias, right? Bias. It's always been there. I guess it's part of the human psychology in a way, right? Unfortunately. So yeah, I believe though Batman's having computer problems. It's all good though. No worries, brother. I tell him. But yeah, folks, I certainly have some interesting ideas for content on the horizon, for sure. I kind of want to get into narrative analysis soon as well. By the way, for you folks that don't know, a lot of my non-anime content is going to be on the second channel now. It's in the description. I already have a few videos up there, so go subscribe to that. A lot of non-anime content will go there. I always like Goku more than Vegeta, but I get why people like Vegeta. For me, Goku accepted a truth about life since original Dragon Ball. There'll always be someone else stronger out there. It's a good point. He's more willing to accept that, right? They both have, the similarity in the sense that they want to continue improving, but Goku is more accepting of where he's at. All right, he's much more accepting of and is humble as far as being inferior at times, right? Vegeta has a much harder time grasping that, right? Especially early on in Dragon Ball, he had a very tough time accepting defeat, right? Accepting the fact that he is inferior in front of some very powerful opponents, right? Including Goku. So you can tell Digimon thinking it was rushed. Gojo was supposed to be the pass on the torch to the strongest Egypt, but instead he died with a straight ball hog like Kobe. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It was implied by him long ago, right, that the new generation would perhaps surpass even himself, and we just never saw that. The Drake lawsuit also a thing as of late. Yeah, so what we do know is that his attorneys, I believe, recommended it. I don't know if he sparked the lawsuit or if his attorneys recommended him to because of the apparent bots, right, and the defamation of his character and et cetera, et cetera. I believe it's a weird thing. The bot thing, I think, is possible, but regardless, this was a beef of words, a war of words, and I don't think lawsuits should be involved here. They both said, Drake and K Dot both said things that weren't true. I mean, right? So I think lawsuits are bizarre and a rap beef. It's a war of words, right? You attack the other's character. And most people that are competent enough realize it's about trying to be the superior, right? When it comes to words and things are going to be said. It's part of war. By the way, Kobe is goated. Oh, facts. Kobe's one of the greatest to ever do it. There's no doubt about it. The closest to Jordan 2.0 we've ever seen. Very, very, very close. Played like him, thought like him, even moved like him, on the court. So Kobe's a legend. Defamation part is clearly part of the culture. This only gives you bad looks. Agreed. Yeah, defamation is part of the culture. And the rap war, yeah, certainly. Biggest L though this year, one of them, is Devin Haney trying to, I believe, sue Ryan Garcia for physical harm. That's ridiculous. That's the dumbest shit I've heard all year. Even dumber than the fucking Drake lawsuit. I'm like, dude, you're a professional fighter and you're suing another fighter for harming you. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You're in the wrong sport then, buddy. Who does that? It's so bizarre to me. For mental and physical harm? Are you serious? Ridiculous. Devin Haney is the biggest L of 2024, or one of them. Yeah, we definitely had some big L's this year as well. Big W's, but big L's as well. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Any questions at all? Hope to end the year with a bang for sure. You know, me and Batman debating, some new content, perhaps a good stream before the end of the year as well. Another thing that sets Goku apart from Vegeta is he trains smart and hard while Vegeta before super trains too harshly. I think that was, something he was susceptible to, especially early on. I do agree with that. Pushing himself to the point of burnout, right? Working smarter, not harder, was the thing he didn't really grasp, until later on. Um, Goku, he can be susceptible to that as well, but he's more humble. He knows his limits. A good example was in the Battle of Gods movie, right? When he's battling Beerus and he says, "Hey, it is what it is. You're the better combatant, man. You're the better man. You got it." That's humbleness, right? That's humility. Um, Vegeta has a tougher time doing that in general, right? So I agree. Bro, I'm scared for GTA 6. I think it's cooked. Let's hope not, man. We waited over a decade for it. Let's pray. Let's all pray for it. Pray for Rockstar Studios. Let's pray for GTA 6, and let's pray that it's a hell of a game. My unofficial fit pro racism takes on stream. I'll agree. I have to agree with that. I've been a fan of Fresh and Fit before, mostly for their philosophies as far as improvement, right? But yeah, this racism shit is weird. Weird as fuck. I don't understand why that's like a running gag on X specifically, right? On the X application specifically, it's a running gag. It's not funny to me. Very weird. Like forcing this. Like I don't consider most of these people legitimate racists. They don't hate groups of people, but they're going out of their way to like iterate this racist rhetoric, which is very bizarre to me. I'm not a fan whatsoever. It's really weird and it's a turnoff to the many guys that I thought were cool are doing it, including Myron. It's very weird to me. I don't understand why that's a thing. Very weird, very bizarre, very bizarre. Hateful rhetoric. But Diddy happens so he wins. Oh yeah, Diddy I believe probably wins. L of the year. L of the year. He's Epstein 2.0 basically. He's Epstein 2.0. So seems like Jay Z is within the Fed's scope right now as well, though. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Jay Z, Diddy, you know, perhaps Beyonce is an extension. We'll see. Only time will tell. But yeah, folks, expect that new video in the next couple of days. The script is done. Gotta get the video itself done. Shout out to my editor. Great editor. He's that guy. So shout out to him, man. Hopefully, the video shakes up the power scan community. Like I said, there's an argument that I made myself that I don't think anyone has really used before. So Jay Z always seems the correct persona, so that would be shocking. Yeah, it'll be very very weird if he is guilty of some of the things that he's been accused of. Um, Serious accusations, For all these pedophiles are in the movie industry. Coincidence? I don't think so. Yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to positions of power, historically, right, it has corrupted. Or more, what I believe, it's not corruption. What power does is it makes you more of who you really are, right? I think Joker said it best. It might have been in The Dark Knight. It says it doesn't change you. It just makes you more of who you really are. Power, money, whatever you want to call it. So these guys had these thoughts or tendencies or had this in nature. And what power does it allows them to feed this nature, right? To come into themselves and to really become who they really are. Makes them more of who they really are, right? So people like Diddy, people like Epstein, people like perhaps Jay-Z, right? Innocent until proven guilty, but perhaps people like Jay-Z, all these people are able to act out um, these things and embrace their nature more because they have more resources at their disposal. The music industry, the movie industry, right, with actors and actresses, people like Harvey Weinstein, right, a guy that was in power. That was his nature. He was just a disgusting, vile human being, right? And he was able to exploit people with his power, right? So that's what power does. That's what power does, unfortunately, and we've seen it historically. You know, tyrants in the past, kings and warlords and people in power, even in the past. Tyranny has always existed. Tyrants have always been around, and unfortunately, they'll continue to be around. You know, GTA Monster Hunter will have to be great games of the next year. So much woke AA bullshit is going to happen again. Yeah, this whole I agree with that. The whole idea of political correctness being shoved down your throat, it's so unnecessary, right? And there's places for it, sure, but when you're trying to infiltrate like these pieces of media that have legacies, it's just bizarre. Trying to infiltrate and integrate this bullshit, woke shit. I agree. It's just bizarre to me. Like, there's a place for it, but it's not where it's not in places where there are legacy medias like GTA or comic books or the Marvel universe or whatever. Where politicians or whatever people with agendas try to push those agendas. Right? It's very bizarre, unnecessary, bizarre, sort of a nuisance to be honest. Um, you know, and I think society has shown they don't like that. Right? With certain movies that perhaps weren't made to be political bombed at the box office, or shows that weren't meant to be political bombed, as far as ratings and viewership, and even sports, even some sports, the NBA at times, or the NFL, ratings plummet. Companies, right? Companies, Fortune 500 companies as well, such as Bud Light. We all know what they did in the past. Their fucking sales plummeted. It's not the way to try to push agendas, right? That's not the most appealing way to push an agenda. That's what these companies need to realize. That's the problem. That's the flaw in their calculations when they're trying to push an agenda. That's not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. There's a time and a place, and that's not the way to do it. That's one of the reasons why anime is more fun. I agree completely. I agree completely. It's not riddled with that at all, at all. And I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's not. I completely agree. Naruto, Dragon Ball, JJK. It's very to the point. There is none of that. There are philosophies that are in there, but they're philosophies that have existed for decades, or excuse me, centuries, right? The idea of hard work, the idea of dedication, the idea of discipline. These are universal philosophies that no one does or should disagree with. You know, the idea of hard work and all these centuries old philosophies, right? So I agree. Anime does not have that problem. Yeah, it's just bizarre. It's bizarre. It's this idea of indoctrination, right? This idea of it being shoved down your throat, almost as if you don't have a choice but to acknowledge these agendas, right? In the West, at least, like you said, I agree. It causes people to resent those agendas almost. It's, in my opinion, it's counterproductive. When you're shoving something down someone's throat constantly from all angles of media, it's going to cause them to resent it and you. You know, to resent the company, to resent the media itself. Like it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. It's an attempt to forcefully indoctrinate, right? Forcefully indoctrinate. And humans, by nature, don't like to be forced to do things. It's just not something humans like. It's not a tactic that has worked well in human history. When someone is forced to do something, you usually build resentment. That's how countries fall, right? Tyrants in power, for example, their ways caused uprising, it caused resentment, and it caused the overthrowing of government. You know, so it's just not a good tactic. Historically, that's shown. So there's so many reports saying that GTA 6 is woke, Rockstar's been compromised. Fuck, man, I hope not. GTA is known for its rawness, right? For its just uncensored nature. I just hope that's not the case. I really don't. GTA is one of the most raw and uncensored forms of media we've ever had, and I think that's why so many people love it. You know, you can do whatever you want. Go steal a car, you can go fucking shoot someone or kick somebody or whatever. You're free in this virtual world, right? And that was never an issue. Um, it's not something that these agendas were never pushed in your face on GTA. GTA 5, 4, 3, whatever game you want to reference, but let's hope it's not the case, man. Society will probably punish Rockstar if that's the case. It just won't buy the game, or will play very, very little if that's the case. So I think they'll definitely regret that if they do intend to make that game a political message or fucking agenda pusher. So we'll have to wait and see. Humans need to be inspired, right? Not forcefully fed is nonsense or forcefully fed agendas. Inspiration, that's the best way to gather a crowd or to rally the troops, so to speak. Forceful indoctrination is not the way. Counterproductive, many ways, many ways. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Feel free, any questions at all here. Very interesting time, though, for sure, with what media is today and the idea of politics, the idea of agendas, and this tribalism that we see. Right? Speaking of tribalism, right? This idea of deep division, tribalism, and I'm right at all costs type of mentalities in politics. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. It's not in human nature to attempt to form peace when you feel like you're being attacked, or when you feel like you're being forced to do something. That doesn't result in peace. That results in division. Right? So it's just bizarre that this is a trend. Right? It's very bizarre. It's clearly not working. Right? This is more division. At this point, unfortunately, the words like diversity and media auto trigger. But yeah, I agree. It's so common that when we hear these buzzwords now, or we see these buzzwords, it causes us to assume forceful indoctrination or forceful pushing of agendas. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, and we've been so showered with this sort of occurrence that that's the first thing we think of now. You know, we've been conditioned to be alarmed by these words. You know, such an impact on culture and how that particularly being based. If they infect GTA, it'd be the greatest victories. Yeah, man, it's a good point. Yeah, it's a very influential game, very iconic game, very beloved game, right? And they know that more eyes will see or more ears will hear what they want us to hear. Or, so it's true. With these massively iconic pieces of media, that's the best way they can relay their message to as many people as possible, right? How any agenda can be pushed to as many people as possible. That's true. It's true. Unfortunate, but true. Let's just hope that's not the case. Especially with GTA 6, we waited too long for that. That's for sure. Nowadays, people don't know anymore that woke was supposed to be a positive movement. Yeah, the way I look at it is it all comes down to intention, right? It all comes down to wanting to do better. But I think it's a double-edged sword. There's balance when it comes to what's optimal, right? The idea of, oh, you should be more understanding to, that's a very noble thing, right? Let's be understanding. Let's hear others. Let's whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also individual accountability, right? There has to be a balance. You can't just give everyone a free card. For example, people that are fat, right? People that are out of shape. Oh, let's be understanding. Let's understand that they're suffering or whatever, and let's embrace them. No, that's nonsensical. That's nonsensical, right? Because we want them to do better. We're not saying go out and fucking bully them to oblivion, but you want them to do better. You're not going to tell them embrace your curves and all this bullshit. That's bullshit. In fact, that's harmful rhetoric because you're encouraging harmful and negative habits. That's counterproductive, that's nonsensical. And I understand the intention behind it. You want them to feel good. You don't want them to feel bad about themselves. But honestly, sometimes that's necessary. You want to be smarter. You want to be stronger. You want to be more intelligent. It requires discomfort. That's what incentivizes you to improve, right? The catalyst to change is usually discomfort. That's usually the catalyst to change. For example, you're fucking starving. What are you going to go do? You're going to go hunt, right? That's how it was back in the day. Now you go to the store, right? What's incentivizing you to do that? The discomfort of hunger. That's just the way humanity works. So when you're lying to people that they should just embrace mediocrity or embrace harmful, blatantly harmful habits, that's ridiculous. That's not logical. I understand catering to people's emotions. I get it. That the intention behind it is good, but there has to be a balance between individual accountability and emotional understanding. It's just very bizarre to me that we're teetering more to this side than that side, if that makes sense. We're teetering more to appeasement, right? But you're hurting these people without even realizing it. You're encouraging harmful habits. You're encouraging mediocrity. You're encouraging the the average mind, the average mindset, or even below average, man. It's very bizarre. That's what the woke movement has become. It's very bizarre. Blame everybody else for your problems. That's the whole idea behind it now. This vid is facts. Appreciate that, Jailer. What's going on, brother? It's, yeah. Forget politics, right? Forget policies. It's just common sense, really. That's what it comes down to. What's weird to me is that the idea of winning, the idea of wanting to be the best is almost like looked down upon now. It's very bizarre to me. I don't understand that. A guy that works hard, a guy that, like, he iterates his rhetoric, right, of, oh, be the best, push yourself, This Vegeta-like mindset. Let's say that it's almost talked down upon. People are like, "Oh, that's cringe. What's cringe about it?" I don't understand that. Trying to be the best and trying to reach your potential, that's cringe. But embracing your curves, being obese, is not. I don't understand that. It's very bizarre to me. Very, very bizarre. Being mediocre isn't cringe, or not being the best version of yourself is that's not cringe. That's what's being encouraged as opposed to trying to be the best version of yourself. That's so bizarre to me. Guys that work hard or guys that are obsessed with improvement are looked at sideways now. That's the times we live in. It's very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. I don't understand that. The woke movement has flipped what makes sense on its axis, right? Essentially. So that's where we're at. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. There's a balance, right? Like I said, shouldn't be a piece of shit to everybody just because they're overweight or they're not doing good enough in life or whatever, but shouldn't lie to them either. It's bizarre. The good thing is, at the end of the day, society dictates what trends and what doesn't. It's not Fortune 500 companies, it's society, right? So I think society is still competent enough to not allow this nonsense to flourish. And I think we've seen examples of that already. Again, Bud Light or fucking movies that bomb at the box office or shows that plummet ratings wise and viewership wise. Certain sports that aren't getting as much viewership. Society doesn't want this shit. They they see through the bullshit. They see the illogical, strange agendas that are attempting to be pushed. So there's hope. There's certainly hope. We live in a time, right? I've said this quote several times, where we're experiencing soft times, right? The old saying of hard times create hard men, hard time creates soft times create soft men. We're in the soft times right now. We're in soft times. The hard times have passed centuries ago when fucking people had to go fucking scavenge plants and fucking go hunting with spears. The time has passed. The hard times have passed. Now we're in soft times because of our ancestors, because of our forefathers, right? They built these soft, comfortable times. But humans, their nature is to be challenged, right? Their nature is to engage in some sort of conflict and find a solution. So, because we're in such soft times, we have these weird issues now. Right? We have debates about philosophy, morality. We have debates about what's right, what's wrong. We don't have to fucking go out and fucking hunt a fucking woolly mammoth for food or fucking travel thousands of miles by foot or by horse. We don't need to worry about that no more. We live in a first world country, first world Western civilization. So these are the problems we have. Like I said, tribalism has always existed. So yeah, makes you think for sure. But yeah, that's my little philosophy tangent. But if folks have any questions at all, feel free. It can be about this, it can be about anything. I certainly enjoy talking about it all, for sure. So appreciate y'all coming out for sure. Appreciate it. I've certainly missed conversing with y'all. I've always taken great, uh, enjoyment doing this. So people just got to pick themselves up by the bootstraps. Agreed. Agreed. there has to be a level of individual accountability. If you're not doing well, if you're not happy with where you're at, in whatever way, look yourself in the mirror. And I don't think that philosophy is pushed enough at all. People don't pick themselves up by their bootstraps anymore. They don't look at themselves in the mirror anymore. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, you gotta look in the mirror eventually. You can't blame society or blame the government or fucking blame you can't keep blaming everybody else. You gotta take action, eventually. Fucking take action, man. You know, every person in life is dealt a hand, right? I call it a hand. You're dealt a hand. Some people will have fucking better hands than others. It is what it is. Some people have the best hand ever, fucking born into a fucking billion dollar company, and some people are born in fucking third world countries. But at the end of the day, you gotta do what you can with the hand you're dealt. What's the point of complaining about it? You're not gonna get anywhere anyway. You know, that's what I think, at least. One of my most favorite examples is when Hollywood and games try to do woke narrative in history shows. Dude, I agree, dude. It's so annoying. So annoying. Tell the history. That's it. Fuck the agendas, man. So bizarre. So bizarre. You see Saitama's new scaling, bros legitimately debate against Goku now. I've actually seen, I've been seeing glimpses of it being a legitimate debate, and many thinking that um, Saitama could win. I have seen that more commonly, more so than ever before. That's why motivational videos don't always work. People need that internal drive. Agreed. Motivation is temporary, right? Motivation comes and goes. It's a feeling. Feelings come and go. Right? Happiness, sadness, anger. That shit comes and goes. You can't rely on that for consistent fuel. Internal drive. The why is what will push you. Why are you doing this shit, right? Is it for your family? Is it for your legacy? Is it for whatever the fuck it is? That will drive you long term. Not fucking motivation. That shit comes and goes. It's fluctuating. Just like your emotions. I agree completely. It's not about motivational videos can give you that spark, but at the end of the day, it's why do you do what you do? Why? For who? For what? That is what will give you the drive for long term consistency. Yeah, that's true. Motivation is overrated. I think it always has been. So it's about finding your why. That makes a difference for sure. But yeah, Saitama, I definitely need to read whatever it is. The new empirical, the new data, the new events that have transpired. Man, got to see it because many are saying he beats Goku now. That's something. For a long time, it's Goku was a superior, but maybe that's changed. I definitely gotta check out the new scaling. But yeah, folks, we'll go about 10 more minutes. Certainly enjoying the conversation. Unless someone donates, about 10 more minutes. Feel free to ask anything at all. Certainly appreciate you guys coming out. And I enjoy these tangents as well. Real life tangents. I think in general, I've always just been a thinker. I love anime. I love, these forms of media, combat, sports. But I do love thinking about just real life things as well. So feel free to ask about that, speak about it, etc. So who you got for Jones or Aspinall? I think both have never fought a guy like the other, but I see Jones winning in every other way besides one punch. Jones is certainly the more well-rounded fighter. I think the majority of people would agree with that. He's the more well-rounded fighter. He has the better defense, even at his advanced age. I do believe he has the better defense as of now. As far as power and explosiveness, I think we all agree Aspinall has that. Jones was never explosive in general, but you could see the decline now. He doesn't have, the reflexes he once had. He doesn't have the offense he once had. But I do believe Jones overall is the better fighter. The margin for error is pretty small though, right? Aspinall has legitimate power. We've seen what he's done. I believe like every fight has been a finish for him or something, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of danger standing in front of Aspinall. But more than likely, Jones wins, in my opinion. More than likely, as of now. But age is working against him. He certainly declined, for sure. He's not the Jones that we saw 5, 10 years ago. Aspinall is in the mists of his prime, so he certainly has the advantage, mileage wise, right? So we all want to see it. And Dana White, I think, is trying really hard to make it happen. Jones wants a gigantic payday. Let's see if Dana White can accommodate him. Yeah. Aspinall's a young, hungry lion. When you're John Jones, when you're in the position that he's in, we want to see him challenged. It was the same thing with Mayweather, right? We wanted to see him fucking challenged. Canelo, Victor Ortiz, all the challenges that came before him, we wanted to see him challenged, right? Because he was unscathed, right? So I thought he looked pretty fast for a heavyweight. Oh yeah, for a heavyweight he's fast. Yeah, he's not slow. But in comparison to his previous self, he does look a little slower. Especially those kicks, which would be a problem for Aspinall. He certainly has to implement that. implement that. I mean, wrestling would be very, very heavy in his game plan. Certainly. Distance control and wrestling. Those are the keys to success for Jones if he were to fight Aspinall. For Aspinall, it would be patience and precision. I think those are the keys for Aspinall's success. Patience and precision. It's hard to hit Jones clean, right? Because of his length, because of his IQ. But patience and precision is key. Perhaps feints, right? He has the speed advantage, the explosiveness, the KO power advantage. If he can feint effectively, right? Angles, precision, all those types of things. Those are the keys to success for Aspinall. Aspinall's striking is pretty good. It's pretty good. He's a pretty decent striker. He has to close that gap, that the gap that Jones tries to consistently have with his opponent, right? The distance. He has to close that gap. He has to take angles. He has to feint. He has to cause Jones to miscalculate or to second guess himself. And then bam, injure him, hurt him, whether it's to the chin, to the body. That's what he has to do. I don't think wrestling is the best idea. Jones is a hell of a fucking wrestler. Um, I doubt Aspinall could compete there. Then Jones is a nasty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner as well. It'd have to be on the feet. That's Aspinall's best chance, in my opinion. So the fight will be at least a high diff. Yeah, I'd say so for both sides. It's not going to be easy for John. I doubt that. I doubt it'd be easy for him, and it's not going to be easy for Aspinall either, unless Aspinall clips him early on, which I highly doubt. Yeah, it's going to be a tough fight for both combatants. Not going to be easy. But this shows what Jones is. Jones. I get it. The guy has fucked up multiple times in and out of the sport, and he wasn't the best man years ago. But the reason I think he's the greatest of all time is what he's done in the octagon. The most title defenses, The most dominant display we've ever seen for the longest amount of time. Um, what he was doing while he was on his run. The guy would go get blacked out drunk a week before his fight and still win. I don't think people understand how good Alexander Gustafsson was in his prime. Other fighters would say the dude would demolish heavyweights in his prime. He was demolishing heavyweights. Many fighters say he's the best they've ever seen, ever, in person, right? And what did Jones do? Jones got blacked out drunk a week before, barely trained, and still gave Gustafsson the fight that we saw. That's fucking ridiculous, man. That's one in a million talent. One in a million, dude. That's fathom what he did. I guess one of the fucking greatest to ever do it. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, how many fighters could do that? I guess one of the greats, one of the most talented fighters to ever step foot in there. It's fucking ridiculous. It really is. And he was doing that all throughout his 20s against Rashad Evans, against the Rampage, against Lyoto Machida, against all these legends. This guy was doing this shit and still winning. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, he's an asshole. He was an asshole. He did a bunch of fucked up shit, but the shit he was doing with the lifestyle he was living, I don't know if anyone else could do that, man. That's fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. Mayweather didn't do that, you know. Mayweather was consistent, disciplined, focused, and he went undefeated. But Jones was a fuck up, and he still did what he did. So, do you think he more likely retires if he wins or loses? I feel like he'd probably still want the Alex fight after, and then the Gunner rematch when he's free from the UFC. Yeah, I think he if he wins, he'll fight Alex. If he loses, he might still fight Alex, but there'll be less spectacle, right? Because he'll look human at that point. I think he more than likely would fight Alex either way, my opinion. Just because of the payday and the spectacle. But I'm almost certain he's gonna fight Alex if he wins. Honestly, Ngannou match. I think he'd take it because then the money would be fucking insane. Um, with or without the UFC's affiliation. Yeah. Give Jones DB level stats and put him into a Budokai. DB level stats. I mean, the guy's martial arts technique is ridiculous. Um, he'd be very successful. You know, but Goku has been a martial artist for many, many, many years, though. Him and Vegeta and some of these other fighters. They may have the experience advantage, but Jones has the more well-rounded game. You know, from our understanding at least, right? So he's also very tall, like physically. But yeah, folks, any funny questions at all? Because Dana will never do cross fights. We could say, for the most part, I agree, but never say never. I mean, we saw Connor and Floyd, but to be fair, Connor is by far the most successful business tool that the UFC has ever had. The guy's a fucking unicorn, so I can't really compare the two, right? So, um, what Connor was, we probably won't see it for another 100 years. The guy was a business magnate. I mean, this guy was prolific in the business department. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous what this guy's accomplished. Um, so yeah, Connor's a fucking unicorn. He was the sport in his prime, and I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that in our lifetime. Um, yeah, in his heyday, the guy was special, man. I don't like Connor personally. I think he's fucked up a lot and done a lot of dumb shit. But then again, I'm kind of a hypocrite because John, I'm being honest, John's fucked up a lot too. I think the only reason I like him is because he wins. To be honest, he fucking wins still. Connor doesn't. Right? But yeah, they both fucked up outside the octagon. What can I say? I'm a man. I mean, I'm man enough to admit that. So, um, but who knows? Maybe the fucking Nagano and Jones fight does happen. Never know. He has to beat Aspinall first, though. Dana won't even consider it if he doesn't fight Aspinall. Who knows though? If he fucking beats let's say this, he fucking destroys Aspinall, right? Let's say hypothetically, and he calls out Ngannou. Psh, man, the fucking spectacle that would be. I don't know if it would be Mayweather Conor level, but fuck, it'd be huge. It'd be huge. Conor got kind of humbled by Floyd, at least. Yeah, he's been humbled multiple times in the last few years. Dustin Poirier, Conor, yeah, he's been humbled. He's still talking. You know what annoys me is that he still talks like he's a champion. You know, it's bizarre that he could still beat people. That Khabib is a rat and shit. I'm like, didn't Khabib fucking maul you for 4 rounds? I don't understand. What are we talking about here? You're talking about Dustin Poirier's wife? Didn't he knock your ass out? Like, I don't. What are we talking about here? I don't understand that. It doesn't compute. Now, if he beat them, okay, whatever. He got fucking. They beat his ass. Like, what are we talking about, Connor? You're washed up. You haven't won a meaningful fight in fucking almost 10 years. No one gives a fuck that you beat an old ass cowboy that was a deer in headlights. No one gives a fuck about that shit. The last meaningful victory was Eddie Alvarez fucking 9 years ago. That was a beautiful performance. Probably his best. Maybe even better than Aldo. Yeah, Aldo was 13 seconds, but the flawless execution in that fight against Alvarez was beautiful. I gotta admit that. I don't like Connor. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful display of violence. But yeah, him talking shit like you haven't won a fight in almost a decade, buddy. At least a fight that matters. What are you talking about? Khabib's a rat? He mauled your ass for talking shit about his fucking family. It's fucking crazy, man. Isn't Khabib like his hard counter? Yeah, he's his literal kryptonite. Khabib is essentially the wrestling god of MMA, and Conor was always known for his lack of wrestling and his lack of endurance. So Khabib drowned him. He drowned him for 4 rounds. So yeah, he's his out counter for sure. I agree, certainly. That's how you beat someone with Connor's style. You drown him, take him down, drown him in deep waters, in the trenches. And that's what Khabib exactly did. He did exactly that. That's the only time I've seen Khabib fight angry. And I think that's the only time we've ever seen him angry. Legitimately. He was fighting for more than just that, for a fucking check. He was fighting for his legacy. He was fighting for his fucking family. All that shit. All that shit. It was a deep, deep, meaningful fight for Khabib that night. Talk shit about his fucking dad, his fucking all the shit he was talking about is just it sent Khabib into a different gear. The mental warfare didn't work this time, big fella. It ended up being counterproductive to Conor. Khabib was very, very angry that night. So, but yeah, folks, any final questions? Appreciate y'all coming out for sure. Definitely had to come back and talk to the people. I'll always enjoy it. You know, always have, always will. Any final questions, folks? But yeah, combat is a beautiful thing. Combat sports is a beautiful thing. It's the clash of wills in the most literal sense, right? We're seeing two men impose their will on each other. It doesn't get more raw than that, you know. The athletes need to learn how to shut their mouths and not embarrass themselves. Yeah, certainly. Connor is definitely one of those athletes. Certainly. But all right, folks. I think that's gonna wrap it up. Appreciate y'all coming out. Um, much love to y'all. Look forward to some content coming soon, next few days. Um, hopefully we get the whole gang for the next stream. Hoping to do a year of the end stream as well. Around Christmas time we'll do another one. End of the year. Appreciate y'all coming out. Much love to y'all. Any stream recommendations, anything at all, feel free to comment down here. Join my Discord. Let me know there. Wherever you guys decide. And I'll see you next time, folks. Appreciate y'all coming out. Stay classy.